This bourgeoisie honey, you know, I did. Ooh, it's a little bit. Oh, look at that. Ooh. If you've never seen Manuka, because this is Salam and hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about honey. Now honey, let me start off with some just basic information on why it's such a good antibacterial. Number one, honey has a low pH. It's more on the acidic side, so it has a pH anywhere between 3.2 and 4.5, for example, and that's acidic. And it's good because bacteria tend to thrive in higher pHs, 6.5 to 7.5. So with the use of honey, we know that bacteria can't survive. Another thing is that floral honey, such as clover honey, for example, produces hydrogen peroxide through the action of glucose oxidase, an enzyme that's produced by bees. Now, hydrogen peroxide, just for FYI, it's a mild antiseptic used on the skin to prevent infections from minor cuts, burns, scrapes, rashes. It may also be used as a mouth rinse, so if you have canker sores, cold sores, or gingivitis, hydrogen peroxide can be used, if you will, to rinse your mouth out. Now, when we talk about Manuka honey, so this has an agent called methylglyoxal, if you didn't know. Methylglyoxal, or more so the Manuka honey, I should say, comes from Australia and New Zealand, and Manuka honey gets its antimicrobial or antibacterial properties from the methylglyoxal compound. There are higher concentrations of methylglyoxal in Manuka honey compared to floral honey. This is actually considered a non-peroxide honey. Honey in general has low moisture content, so it dehydrates bacteria, preventing them from growing and surviving, as I mentioned before. We do know that honey has high sugar concentration, so I am going to talk about individuals who want to be careful of using honey, including diabetic patients or individuals with diabetes or prediabetes. And then there are also some other components that honey has in terms of antibacterial properties, including polyphenol compounds, dicarbonyl compounds, bee defensin. All these things are great and are very useful. But we still want to talk about who should and should not use honey and what we should be looking for, or what we should be considering as we are consuming honey for health and wellness. The winter months are upon us, and a lot of us are, congregating in close spaces, talking in close proximity to one another. And so many of us, or a few of us I should say, might be just gonna get sick. So we need to be able to prepare ourselves with not only prophylactic treatment, but having things on hand that can keep us well and healthy. Now, I do apologize for all my vegans watching, because I know some of you do not consume honey because it comes from bees. So let me dive into a little bit more of Manuka honey versus your floral or clover honey. And I want to start out with the Manuka honey to dive deep into a little bit more detail of whether or not you should consider using this, because it is a bit more pricey as opposed to your regular floral honey. And so that might be a deal breaker for some of you. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, is it hype? Is it helpful? Is it just slapping some extra dollars on a product that works just as well as your run-of-the-mill clover or floral honey? So let's talk a little bit about it. Other than the methylglyoxal that I spoke about, I do want to say that Manuka honey was originally US FDA approved, or United States Food and Drug Administration approved, as an option for wound treatment in 2015, which is interesting. So it's applied to wounds for its healing properties. However, if you're a diabetic, there's some stipulations involved that it should not be used. Now, the methylglyoxal, or the MGO, I should say, that compound that gives the antibacterial properties and that's used to help treat bacteria, including E. coli and MRSA, also is used to treat colds, flus, and infections. And I mentioned that earlier. Bacteria can present itself in many different ways, so it's important to keep that in mind as you are consuming any type of natural product, herb, honey, anything that you may want to try. So it helps to improve digestion or the digestive symptoms like ulcers, gastritis, reflux, and irritable bowel disorder. And then again, it might be helpful in treating acne, eczema, things of that nature. And then I mentioned, some things that were seen in terms of the oral care, but this specifically, the Manuka honey can treat oral bacteria, prevent plaque formation, and ulcers. So that's some of the information I found by doing a little bit of digging. Now I mentioned that Manuka honey is known for its texture, so I'm going to open this up so that we can get a look at what it's looking like. Ooh, that was a quick pop. Yeah. I don't want to spill this on myself, all right? You gotta still always make sure when you're buying something like honey, it's protected. Ooh. Let's see here. It's a little bit, oh, look at that. Ooh. If you've never seen Manuka, because this is protected in a more amber container, it's a plastic container, so you can protect the properties, but looks great. You can see this and not my head. I'll get a better view. So I'm fasting today, so I can't put this in water or tea or anything like that. But yeah, so that's Manuka. And then this is your regular, you've seen this, of course. I've tried this, your regular clover honey. Okay. So when we're talking about the antimicrobial and the antioxidation or antioxidant properties of honey, now I talked about Manuka honey having origins in New Zealand and Australia, so that's something to keep in mind. Clover honey is harvested from all over the world, North America, Europe, wherever. And it's known to be a little bit more on the sweet side, I would say. Of course, honey, lots of sugar. Now, whether you choose to use it on your pancakes, on your oatmeal, in your tea, whatever you have you, or to ferment garlic or ginger, that's going to be up to you. Just keep in mind the amount of sugar that you will be consuming with any type of honey. So 1 tablespoon of honey, and this is the clover honey or the floral honey, has 17 grams of sugar. And if you're keto, I think the standard is no more than 25 grams of carbs per day. So this is going to hit your carb intake really quickly. So that's something you're going to want to keep in mind. And then with the Manuka honey, 1 tablespoon has 18 grams of carb, 15 grams of sugar. While honey promotes health and wellness, it is important to make sure that you understand, especially with diabetic and even cancer patients, that there have been some studies or research that have talked about MGO or methylglyoxal not being as health promoting, if you will, or as healthy as many promote it to be. So the MGO, the methylglyoxal, is a side product of glycolysis, and that together with reactive oxygen species, or ROS, leads to cellular dysregulation and age-related diseases such as diabetes and cancer. So it's going to be really important to always figure out, maybe you talk to a nutritionist or a dietitian, if you have had a history of prediabetes, diabetes, or cancer, if Manuka honey or honey is going to be really advantageous for you at this point as you're recovering and trying to get better. Now, as I said before, during the winter months, we tend to be in close proximity to one another, and that's why you might be tempted to try honey and whatever it is you're cooking or drinking, just to stay up on top of your health and wellness game. And I applaud you, I commend you for that, I encourage you to do that. Whether or not you want to try the more expensive honey or the regular generic name brand honey is going to be up to you and your taste buds, your flavor, what you want to try. This bourgeoisie honey, you know, the bourgeoisie, a little bit more expensive honey, it's expensive for a reason, because it's sourced from a specific location in the world, New Zealand and Australia, so you can see why the prices might be high, and also because of the properties, the antimicrobial, bacterial properties that is purported. Now, research is still coming out on a lot of these products that purport to be very healthy for you and for your well-being. I'm not saying we have to do randomized controlled trials of honey or Manuka honey, but I do want you to just be aware that more and more research is coming out on these particular properties and if they are really helpful or if they are really harmful. So if you're trying things for the first time and you're not really used to it, I say do things in moderation. Take your time trying things out and don't become too overwhelmed with jumping on any type of bandwagon or trend, because I know maybe few years ago Manuka honey was all the rage. It's died down a little bit, or quieted down, excuse me, a little bit, but it still has some good properties that you might want to try out. And the price, I think, has come down a little bit more now that you have more vendors selling Manuka honey. Now, with that being said, I am going to wrap up the video, but I am going to request that if you have any health-related questions or concerns that you want me to talk about, please reach out to me, leave a comment below. I like to talk about all things natural remedies. Even though I am a pharmacist and I have a background in the pharma industry, I do study herbalism and I do study a lot of things that are good for us, just natural products that are good for us, that are good for our health and well-being, you know, especially as we as women are getting into a certain age of life where a lot of what we consume can metabolize differently. And I think I said this in my last video. Things metabolize a little bit differently once you hit 40. And it is what it is. We just have to learn to adjust and adapt and eat healthier, eat better, move, exercise, rest. Oh my goodness, rest. I'll leave a video here that talks about how we can rest as we're getting older. I know a lot of us are still working as we are, maybe we're still building out our businesses and doing different types of adventures in our lives. We're still working our 9 to 5. All of that is okay. It's good. It is what it is. But we still have to take care of our health every day, every moment. We still have to consider how we're doing and how we're feeling. So with that being said, I do have a call to action to leave a comment below. Let me know what you want to talk about. What are your concerns for the upcoming winter season? If you do have any concerns, or what are your concerns in general about perimenopause, menopause transition, and health and wellness for women of a certain age. So with that being said, I do thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.